Hi, and welcome to another episode of Marriage on a Tightrope. I'm Katie.
I'm Allan.
And we are still married. We're here on a Sunday afternoon, and we recorded as soon as I got home from church because I had meetings. And we just want to dive right into it. So let's go.
You'd think after last week that this week would have gone smashingly, because last week was a lot better than the first 2 weeks. So what did it?
I don't think so.
Let's talk about it real quick. So, before church, Katie, you were at Ward Council, right? Mm-hmm. So, Ward Council is an hour and a half before our church meeting starts. So, Katie was there, and I got they made some French toast for the kids, which isn't French at all, and then I needed to sit down with them. Katie asked me. Actually, this is kind of a fun moment. Katie, you have a hard time saying the words, Allan, I really need you to ...
Yeah, I'm kind of a do-it-yourself kind of person.
She embodies Beyonce's Independent Woman anthem. But she said the words, Allan, while I'm gone, I really need you to ... And I went, oh, my ears perked up. And tell everybody what you said.
So, guys, last night we're driving home from my brother-in-law's house, and Allan wasn't with me. I had picked up my kids from my brother-in-law's after a tightrope date, which was amazing.
It was awesome. It was great.
Anyway, so we're on our way home, and the kids said, what's tomorrow? And I said, Sunday. And they said, well, what are we doing tomorrow? And I said, well, we're going to church. And then it just started, the barrage. I don't want to go to church. You say that we don't have to go next week, and you say that every week, and we always have to go. And I said, look, we're going tomorrow as a family. We've decided that whatever we do on Sunday, we're going to do as a family. So tomorrow we're going. And my 5-year-old, his response was the best. He says, it's so boring, Mom. And I said, Zach, you love going to church. What is the deal? You love your teachers. You love primary. He says, yeah, but we always talk about Jesus, and I just want to talk about Avengers. I literally laughed for a solid 2 minutes. It was amazing.
Jesus is the ultimate Avenger.
He is. I mean, really. So I told Allan today, look, I need you to please talk to the kids about why we're going to church today. Because it's all been coming from me mostly. And they're the ones that, they just, gang up on me and will just, why? I don't want to go, all these things. So I told him, while I'm at Ward Council, will you please talk to the kids and tell them why?
Yeah, and so I did. What I did was, after breakfast, we all sat down. It's about 10:30. Now we've got an hour before church. We all sit down in the living room, which right now doesn't have a TV in it. It's our favorite room. It has new couches.
It's really pretty, guys.
I have to say, it's beautiful. Katie's done a good job.
Yeah.
She's still tinkering with it, and it's driving me crazy, but that's a different story. So we all sit down in the living room, and I talk to them and say, I'd like to talk about Sundays, guys. We've had this conversation before, but Mom and I have decided that whatever we do on Sundays, we're going to do as a family. So if that means we're going to church, we're all going to church. That includes me. And instantly my 2 older ones slouch in the chair and start to lightly groan. They're trying to hide it, but not well. And so they say that. They start complaining a little bit. And I just say, look, we're not going next week. And my 11-year-old, wiping tears, literally, says, you say that every week, that we're not going to go next week. I'm like, we have a hotel in St. George. We're not going next week. And they're like, oh, that's right. We remember. That's right. I said, but today we are going to go. And I said, look, I don't throw punch. I don't hold punches. Pull punches. There we go. There it is. Thank you. I don't pull punches when I talk to them. And so I said, I don't like going either. But guess what? Church means a lot to your mom. And if she wants to enjoy it, we're all going to go, and we're going to enjoy it together. I don't think that's exactly what I said.
Really funny you said that because of how the day went. So anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so that's what I said. And then my 11-year-old was just not having a good time with it, wiping tears. And he just said, it is so boring. Can I just skip the first hour and just go to the second hour? And And I said, now, hold on. If we have a boredom problem, this is a completely separate problem than church. We should be able to have our minds quieted for an hour. And it doesn't seem like we're able to do that. So I want everybody to sit on the floor with me. So we all sat down on the floor. Said, I'm setting my timer for 5 minutes. And we're just going to sit here and meditate. And I talked to them a little bit about what meditation is. Keeping your mind clear, breathing deeply, not talking, just letting your mind wander onto what it wanders and not focus on any specific thing. And I'm not an expert with this, so I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but I just wanted them to be quiet for 5 minutes with me. So we did it, and then we talked about how it went, and then I said, okay, this is what we're doing today. Can everyone please go get ready for church? It's 10:55 at this point, so we've got about 25 minutes before we have to leave. And everybody got up, and without complaining, and went and got ready. So it was like, okay, we're making progress here. We're going to do this. This is good. I go up and get ready. Katie gets home from World Council about 15 minutes before church starts, and we all get to church on time. Barely. We barely made it before it started, but we did. We all got to church on time. We took the same approach as last week. Katie sat on the far end of the pew, and I sat next to her, and then the kids sat from there, and that was so far so good, is what was happening at that moment.
Well, the kids were just completely irreverent, and Allan kept yelling at them, and
I was patient at first.
Okay, let's talk about the messages we heard today, because I don't want to call anyone out, and I'm going to speak in a really general way, but it was very difficult, I think, for you, Allan.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Do you want to touch on some of the themes that you heard today?
Yeah, I'll talk about two of them that were difficult for me. And for those who still hold a lot of value, I'm talking not just to you, Katie, but to everybody, that still hold a lot of value in some of the things that I'm about to devalue. I don't know that an apology is needed, but I just hope that this isn't uncomfortable for you.
Well, I mean,
they've listened.
I have
to
a
me
response.
say a lot.
I have a response. So let's talk it out.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the messages that was very difficult for me to hear. I've talked about it a lot on this podcast before. I think you've mentioned it too, Katie. Of the we are right and we are the only ones that are right, and the world is bad, and even other Christian groups are bad, and they can't give you anything. Like, the only thing you can get is here.
Okay, so
it feels so divisive, and I'm like, why do we need, why is this important? It just feels so insecure. Like, it feels so insecure.
Okay, but as like I'm just gonna play devil's advocate just a little bit, because I actually
Jesus' advocate in this case.
Jesus' advocate. So I see what you're saying, like, but we as church members believe that the fullness of the gospel has been restored on the earth. So hold on. So if we believe that we have the fullness of the gospel for everyone, and no one else has that, you separate yourself from every other faith just by that one construct, that one idea. I don't think when most people talk about it, it's generally not, wow, I'm so much better than my Jewish neighbor. I think in some sense they think like, well, we have the fullness of the gospel, and we want to share it, and so, you know, we're so lucky to have it on earth. It's because it's something that we really believe. But I don't think, at least in the context that was talked about, it was like a super prideful thing. No,
and that's the thing. And like we talked about this before we started recording. The individual who gave this talk is incredible. I really respect the dude. He's great. And so, like, but so I don't blame him for the message. It's just like that message comes across as, okay, it's a given. not everybody here, because I'm there, and that's not how I feel, but the messages that are shared at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, by definition, that they are being shared there, are under that premise of we have the truth. So can't we just talk about the truth and how it helps us in our lives, instead of using the message of we have the truth to further beat home the point that everyone else is wrong? It's like, why can't we just talk about it from the perspective of, I'm so grateful for the truthfulness of the gospel because it helps me be a kinder person, and it helps me serve more, and it puts me in positions to love my fellow man. And those messages certainly are shared. But it just seems like the ratio is so off. It's just all about this truth, like we're right, we're right. And
that's totally fair, by the way.
And that's so hard to be someone that it's not true to me. And truth is subjective. I've just listened to a podcast about that.
Yeah.
So like I'm totally fine with someone saying I'll even try hard to be good with someone saying I know the church is true, if the next thing they talk about is how that's important to them and why it's so good for their life. But when the next thing is, I know the church is true, and I know that all the other churches are not, I'm just stop. This isn't helpful.
Well, what it does is it shows, you're right, it shows insecurity.
And the hardest, not the hardest, but like where it gets so complicated, it's like, I'm the outsider here. And so I don't feel I have the right to try to get them to share the message any other way. But we've just told our kids whatever we're going to do together. And now I'm hearing this message that I don't feel I can correct because it's not my message to correct. But yet I'm pushing my kids to be there to hear this message.
Do you think our kids actually heard anything?
No, I don't. You didn't even hear
I didn't
most
even
of it.
hear most of it.
Okay, I get that, but at some point they hear it because they grow up and they're the ones that now are sharing that message. I mean, right? These individuals sharing these talks were the kids that weren't paying attention at one point. And at some time they start paying attention.
Okay.
So for me, let me get this through, right? For me, it's so difficult to balance on that tightrope of respecting what our family has decided of sometimes we're going to go to church, and then also hearing these messages that I'm like, I do not want my kids to internalize these things. So what's the best way to do it? Do I pull them aside afterwards and talk to them and say, you didn't even hear this message, but this is what was said and this is why I disagree? Like, I just don't know exactly what to do. But that's why this is so difficult.
I mean, but it goes back to what we talked about last week about like giving the tools for our kids to decide for themselves. I mean, as much as we would like to teach them more inclusiveness, more openness to many of those around, and not to exclude anyone, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Like, we're gonna teach them in our own home. We're going to teach them through example, and we're going to teach them through the words, and that's what we can do. They're going to hear it everywhere else, and we can't control that. And, I mean, I understand that we can control whether or not we take them to church, but it
makes me want to give them other perspectives and take them to other churches so they can hear different messages, not in the spirit of joining any other church. But on Sundays that we don't go, like, I want to make sure that the Sundays we don't go aren't just about going and hiking or having a family activity, which I do like, but I want to expose them to different ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I hope that, I mean, I think that because you were an insider and now you feel like an outsider in the church, you have like really strong feelings about what people say at church. Are you going to have as strong of feelings if people say it at another church in a different way, but it have it be the same context? I don't know. Will you?
Well, I think when we go as a family, we are all going as outsiders, whatever other church we go to. We don't have a lifetime of attendance at any other church than this. So when we all go, we're all outsiders, and it's very easy for us to get in the car and say, so what did y'all think about that? Well, I didn't like the music. It was too loud. Well, I really liked this because it was great. It's difficult.
But I'm talking about the messages that come across, because if you hear that from a paid clergy preacher of another church, is that going to hurt you as much as the message you heard today?
Well, it's easier to discount because none of us are going as believers to any other church.
Right.
So when we get in the car, it would be very easy for you to turn to the kids, not Alan, but Katie, to turn to the kids and say, I really didn't like what the teacher talked about, because he made it really feel like if you're not here in this church, that Jesus can't help you. That's going to be very easy for you to say at a different church than it is in our church.
Yeah. So, but when I'm saying, okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, like, maybe I will think about giving that consideration to our church and any other church we go to see or visit, just as much as you would give that consideration feeling fired up or upset about a message you hear at another church as well. You know what I mean? Like, we both give it the same, I don't know,
level of scrutiny,
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I want to scrutinize everything.
I mean, you don't necessarily believe in, like, a divine person or Jesus.
No, I don't. But I don't think that matters. I don't believe it matters. I believe that I could use, if it's used in a way that is inclusive, I can absolutely use the example of Christ to improve myself and improve my family and how we treat people. But as soon as it's exclusionary, I'm not on board for that, Jesus. Yeah.
No, I actually agree with you. I do. Yeah. Hard message, hard things to listen to. There was a second message, but do you want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to week 2, where it was another message that was even more directly pointed at doubters. And not even those that don't believe anymore, but just doubters. And that's all I'll say. But it was very pointed towards doubters and how...
Okay, but we started talking about it, and then I said, like, stop, let's go record right now.
Yeah.
So Alan said, why is that person? Do you want to say what you said?
Yeah, I mean, it's the difficult thing that I have is that we got into a conversation about the types of individuals that are called into certain callings.
Okay, and I have, like, Alan has, it says these leaders who are called into these callings are giving out these messages, and that's difficult, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a very different point of view, because I am a leader and I've called people into positions, and I feel like that sometimes you don't have a lot of control. Like, I called counselors for primary. I called people who said no. I called people who got in, who, I won't get into it, but didn't work out. That didn't work out. I have a lot of sympathy for people who are asked to do this and say yes to it and then get in trouble for saying what they think. Mm-hmm. And maybe I've said things as a primary president or done things that other parents don't agree with. Well, guess what? I'm a volunteer. And I look at the men who spoke today, and I think they're volunteers. They were asked to speak. This was the subject that they were given. Like, what else? We can't be mad about it.
I don't blame any of the individuals. I don't.
Okay, so is there blame to be had, and if so, where?
It's systematic. The people that are sharing these messages of exclusion, we talked about healthy versus not healthy messages, but that's very subjective. Mm-hmm. But those that are teaching and repeating the messages of exclusion are the ones that I see being called into powers of leadership or positions of leadership. Like, those are the ones that keep getting called for the most part, to positions of leadership. And that's difficult for me. Someone that is on...
They're also the people that say yes.
Right, I know. That's why it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Like, this goes back about a year ago. We had a situation, an experience where an individual was very aggressive towards me in Sunday school. I talked to the stake president about it without naming the individual. The stake president apologized profusely. You shouldn't have been treated that way. This individual shouldn't have reacted this way. And then the next week, that individual was called by the stake president into the High Council. That was really difficult for me. And it kind of opened my eyes to, well, this just doesn't work for me. Because on an individual basis, there's empathy. But then systematically, it's like those that are towing the company line this is getting really... The words that are being used here, hopefully those that are listening, like, this is really hard. Katie and I, in a lot of episodes, just as a side note, we try to use language that is very empathetic. We try to use language that doesn't sting to either side. And these Back to Church episodes have been a little different. They've been just Katie and I having conversations. And so, like that's the struggle that I'm having, is there's just a big part of me that just says, like, why am I going to keep going? And again, I go back to last week. I can keep going to help Katie, but I don't know if it's possible. Like, I just have to ignore what's being talked about and literally bury myself in my phone because I don't want to pay attention to these messages. But then I get there and I do want to pay attention to the messages because I want to make sure that I can defend against the messages because I don't want my kids to learn about it. And so then now I'm paying attention, and now I go home, and now I'm upset, and now I feel bad because I'm supposed to be focusing on Katie, but now it's about me again. It's just this big circular mess, and it's really difficult. Like, I don't like the conflict that it has brought up. I think there's, like, last week was a big moment of growth, and I was hopeful that this week would be the same. And I know that you agree with a lot of what we're talking about, but it's like, why are we going? Like, if we have to continually be on the defensive about, like, why? Let's find another place.
We or you?
What was that?
You said we be on the defensive.
Yeah, I mean, in the last few minutes we've talked about messages you don't agree with either. Do you feel like we need to talk to the kids about, if we hear something we don't agree with,
we say something?
Do we talk to them?
Yeah, usually we do. Usually we'll say something to them.
Yeah, in general, not like
in general.
We should be talking to them about it.
Right, and we do, but I'm not, I mean, you can hear Allan, he's super passionate, and he was upset by this because he, like, yelled at the kids because they were being bad, and I think it was a mixture of frustration from the message and combine that with just children. And
it was a whispered yell, by the way. I don't think it went beyond our pew, maybe one or two pews.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure the people behind us saw it and heard it, and I don't care, that's fine. But what I'm saying is I can be more calm about it. I can listen to that and say, well, I don't agree with that. And then come home and talk to the kids about it or talk to you about it. But, like, it literally, I feel like this has been an interesting but affirming experiment, right? Mm-hmm. You can't go back to church.
Well, we have 2 weeks to figure that out because next week we're not going.
Next week we're not going, and the week after I'm the one speaking in church.
Well, I'm going to that for sure. Are
you going to love the message that I give?
I have full faith in the message you'll give, and I love seeing you have the light shined on you because I think you're adorable and you share great messages, honestly. And don't be nervous. I want you to just talk about who you are, however you want to do that. It's been, I mean, this is part 4 of 4. We'll probably talk about it again. I don't know, but it'll be a few weeks because we're not going next week. I think 4 weeks in a row is maybe overkill for me. And so, especially not having like an off week where we go do something else as a family, maybe that would help everybody involved to feel like we really do have a choice. We talk to the kids about having a choice, and then we don't really give them a choice. So I love the message of whatever we do, we're going to do it as a family. I think that's the right message. I think it's a beautiful message. I think it's awesome.
But
Really no but. It's just 4 weeks in a row has been tough. Not just on me. It's been tough.
And to be completely clear, part of the reason why we did 4 weeks straight is because you said that you would try 4 weeks straight. Not that we couldn't have chosen to do other things.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've been pushed into it.
No, I mean like that's what you wanted to do, and then report back to the listeners to kind of talk through all of this turmoil and.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't regret doing it. 4 weeks in a row. Now it's clear. I don't think I expected the emotions to be run as hot. And they didn't last week because it was a good week. I was focused on you, and the messages weren't difficult. So it's not always bad. It's not always bad. And I know that the degree of good and bad is dependent on the individual. And certain individuals, I'm sure thought this week was amazing. And good for them. That's great. It wasn't amazing for me. And that's okay. Next week we'll do something else as a family. And it may be more amazing for me than it is for you.
Because we'll be like out on the lake boating.
We may be boating on a lake. So maybe it'll be amazing for both of us for different reasons. But so next week is going to kind of be a fun week. Yeah. I know it's not going to be the week after that for you or for us, but because you're speaking in Sacrament. But I would love for there to be a week in September that we do something purposeful and something spiritual as a family on a Sunday. And have a different experience and just see what it's like. I've heard of a few different, whether that's Community of Christ or if it's a different church or if it's not even a church, it's Lower Lights. We go as a family or who knows? I don't know. 2
words. Goat yoga.
Oh my gosh, we're doing goat yoga? All right, that's fair. Look, Katie, you came home today. I'll say this. She knew I was upset, and she came home today, and she had a teacher's appreciation in primary.
We had like a teacher training, and by the way, I got so much out of that. I got more out of my teacher appreciation training or teacher training than I did out of all of church. So
well, I'm glad
it was good.
So you walked in, and you came up to me. I was kind of putting together dinner. And I said, so were your teachers adequately appreciated today? And she came over to me, put her hands around my waist, maybe a little lower on the backside. Should I not talk about that?
No.
But then you looked up to me, and I don't know if I saw tears in your eyes, but I saw sincerity for sure. And you said, are you adequately appreciated? And God gave me this big hug. And I could tell that the conversation that proceeded from there wasn't going to be contentious, that you were conscious of how I was feeling, and we were going to be in a place where even if we disagreed, there wasn't going to be hard feelings about it. And there was disagreement. It's not even disagreement, really. It was just sharing of ideas, and some ideas were a little different than the other person's. And I'm really grateful for that. And even in this episode, like, I've spoken pretty strongly, and I don't feel like I feel like as soon as this I press stop on the recording, we're going to hug and be very grateful for each other. And so I'm really thankful for you. So thank you.
We've come a long way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was a doozy. So the moral of the story is, if you think you can go back to church,
don't do it. I'm kidding.
We don't want to make light of these things, but I'm sorry. You have to have some humor because...
You do. It's crazy.
It's so heavy all the time, and it can get, to be so overwhelming. So Allan and I crack a lot of jokes, so hopefully that's okay with all of you.
Yeah, we do that. We do that a lot. It's fun. We are, the next episode you'll hear... outside of Matt and Lindsay's, it may come out before this, is we recorded a short episode about children's blessings and back to school blessings, and what we ended up doing. Half the episode was recorded before we did the children's blessings, and the other half was after. So it was very interesting, and you'll see that it's the right time of year with back to school to touch that topic. But look for that. Anything else to say before we end it?
We went out with 2 great couples this weekend.
We did.
Back to back.
Yeah, it was great.
Back to back dinners. And I just feel super blessed that you allow us into your stories and your homes and your ears by listening to us and allowing us to hear just the struggles that you're going through. I am energized, and I feel I walk away from meeting people feeling like so rejuvenated and good about what the podcast is doing for other people. So thank you very much. If you'd like to set up a dinner, we are currently booking out.
We're currently booking out. My gosh,
I'm totally kidding.
No, and here's the power. I think the power is in just having a real conversation with someone that knows what you're going through and that's currently going through it. So find someone like that. And guess what? The scary part is that it's easier to find if you're open about it. And a lot of us are not open about it. So every couple that we talk to, maybe not directly is encouraged, but we always try to encourage, as comfortable as you are, be open about this mixed faith journey that you're on with your spouse.
Well, I think we definitely encourage each spouse to have a cheerleader or have someone they can confide in. So maybe you don't want to be open, that's fine. But you absolutely have to have someone.
Yeah.
Allan needs someone.
Open doesn't mean posting about it on Facebook and
open
things like that.
Open does not mean telling everyone.
It can, but a brother, a friend, a father, and that doesn't always go well. There's certainly consequences to opening up about your situation.
Right.
But also great benefits at the same time. So it's going to be hard and awesome all at the same time.
Yeah, and I think we've talked to quite a few couples, and when people know that you're open and people know that you have issues and there's problems and you're working through things and your life is not perfect, because no one's life is. But when you're sincere and genuine about it, you give a gift to those around you, because then others feel like they can open up and share something hard that they're going through. And I can't tell you how many secrets me and Allan we call it, we're like the keeper of secrets, and I feel very honored to do that, because I feel like people hear our story or family members know where we're at, and then they come and tell us of the really hard things that they're struggling with, because we're not going to judge them. We have our own thing going on, and that is the gift that you give to others when you're open yourselves. You will find that people will seek you out to tell you things, and in return, that will help them. So just give that a thought. We have a venue site for our Utah County meetup. It is September 21st, Saturday at 5 p.m. We would love for you to go on Facebook, and you can...
Within our Facebook group, there's an event set up. Right now it says Utah County Meetup is the name of the group. Go on there and RSVP if you could. Right now we have 8 people saying yes, they're going to come, and 21 maybes.
Yeah, and I think that...
They have plenty of room.
We have a few people on Instagram who have messaged me that they can come, but we would love to have you. And it'll be in Lehi. The house is in Lehi, and they're graciously hosting it. It's going to be potluck style. We're going to provide the main dish, and you guys just bring something to share. And it should be like a really great night where you can meet others in this situation, and hopefully you can find someone that lives close so that you can become friends and go out and talk about all this together.
Exactly. We won't read the address here on the podcast, but we'll post it in there in that Facebook event as well. If you're not on Facebook, feel free to email us at marriageonatightrope@gmail.com, and we'll get you information there.
And I didn't even think about this, but someone texted me and said, hey, can you come if you're not married? okay, if you, this is like, it's so mind-blowing to me. If you are in a mixed faith relationship, you're dating someone who's left the church, or you yourself have left the church, and you've shared the podcast with someone you're dating, and you're serious, whatever it might be, please come. I mean, I would love to have people from in all different stages, at different ages, wherever you're at in your journey. I think that it would be so beneficial for us to listen and learn and hear your story and just connect with you. So please, if you can come and your spouse can't, this isn't just like a couples event. Just come. We will take any of you who want to come. And I'm hoping to reach out, and Natasha, if you're listening, which she probably isn't because she's so busy and I love her, but I really, really want to do an episode with Natasha Helfer Parker on mixed faith marriages, pre-marriage counseling. Like, what do you do if you are now marrying into this relationship? Not you're finding out about it now, but you're marrying into it. I think that would be super helpful for a lot of our listeners, as well as parents of kids who are in that position.
Right.
So I can't stress enough how much I want to do an episode on that. Hopefully we can get that going, and we'll have it out to all of you.
Thank you very much for listening to Marriage on a Tightrope. You're very welcome for the messages we've shared, because clearly we have it all figured out.
I was like, where are you going with this? You're very welcome.
Yeah, we've got it figured out. So just listen to us, and all of your greatest, wildest dreams will come true.
That's a Napoleon Dynamite.
It is. Without the accent, I felt that would have been a little bit much.
Wait. Let's hear your accent.
I don't do accents. You know this.
That's why I want you to do it.
I don't want to do it. You can email us at marriageandtightrope@gmail.com. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on Instagram. Click subscribe. I feel like a YouTuber now.
Donate?
You can.
You could donate.
If you want to.
Whatever.
Send us some Bitcoin.
Guys, let's not. That's another episode for another day.
What to do when family
invests money in
convinces
cryptocurrency.
you to invest in cryptocurrency? Yeah, that'll be a much future episode. I'm kidding.
We didn't obviously feel a spirit on whether or not we should have done that.
That's what ultimately broke my shelf, was when Bitcoin plummeted last January.
Oh, we could go on and on, but we won't.
We have already. So let's end it. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.